Hello, everyone. Welcome into another Get Ready With Me. But this one, we have a topic. And that topic is Interview with a Vampire. I'm a big movie buff. I love talking about movies, love talking about the behind the scenes things with movies and how they kind of came to be, how the actors interacted with each other, how things were on set, and things like that. And my husband and I were talking about this movie in particular because I was really curious how Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise worked together in this movie. Now, we're talking about the movie, as I said, not the TV series. The movie came out in November of 1994. And that is over 30 years ago now, and I have watched the movie maybe 5 times at most. And I actually just recently rewatched it because I wanted to talk about it. And I've got some little tidbits, a little bit of things you may or may not know about the movie. I thought it was really quite interesting. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start putting on my makeup as we talk about it. So, the movie is based on Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. Now, when they announced the movie, Anne had reservations with it. She heavily criticized Tom Cruise being Lestat. She wasn't sure that he was capable of embodying that character. And she inevitably loved him. She said as soon as she saw Tom Cruise as Lestat in the movie, she knew he was the perfect fit for the role. Now, that being said, supposedly, now this is not something that I researched too much, it's just something I read as I was going along. Tom Cruise was not the original pick for Lestat, which seems kind of odd to think about watching him now in the role. The actual person, and this kills me actually, the actual person that was going to be Lestat was John Travolta. And I just can't imagine John Travolta as Lestat. But maybe somebody else does. That being said, this was one of Kirsten Dunst's first TV roles. She actually worked with an acting coach prior to the role, and her coach made her redo her audition. They tested her in so many different ways to make sure that she was fit for that role. And she said in an interview that they forced her to slam doors like multiple times to embody the anger that the character felt in the movie. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, because Kirsten was obviously underage and put in a role that she was put in a role that was beyond her time. And so you had to work certain things into her acting to pull it off. She said that her acting coach told her when they wanted her to look a certain way, they said, pretend like your brother lost a toy and you know where that toy is, but you're not going to tell him. So they achieved that mischievous look without sexualizing a little girl, let's be honest. Because when it came to that role, she was trapped in a child's body, but she still continued to age and she still continued to grow and learn and age within her mind. And so that's something you have to be very careful with when you're using children in film like that. And she said also that she felt very protected on set. She said that they really made sure that she wasn't overexposed to things on set or within the movie that would affect her as a child. She actually spoke very highly of Tom Cruise and she spoke very highly of Brad Pitt. She said she felt that Brad Pitt was her older brother, and she said that Tom Cruise actually decorated her dressing room for Christmas and put a Christmas tree in her dressing room. And I thought that was really sweet. She said that she has never worked a role again that made her feel the way that Interview with a Vampire did. And she loved the wardrobe. She also had her first on-screen kiss in that movie. And in an interview with E.T., she talked about how gross it was. She's like, it was disgusting. And the fact that I had to bend down and kiss Brad Pitt, she was like, it just was outside of myself. And Brad spoke again. He said it was very uncomfortable for him as well, and that he hated it as well, of course. Obviously, Tom Cruise killed the role of Lestat. He did an amazing job, and Anne Rice even said that herself, and just was really happy with his part of the movie. Brad Pitt has been mentioned several times in not enjoying the role. He actually tried to get out of it, but knew that he had signed a contract, and that was a $40 million contract that he couldn't obviously justify leaving. He said he was miserable during shooting because of the makeup. He said it took about 2 to 2.5 hours to do. And then they filmed almost exclusively at night due to them being vampires. And because of that, he was tired. Like, he was not a night owl the way that maybe other actors in the movie were. Now, Kirsten was still in school, so she talked about how she had to do homework at 3 p.m. and then head to shooting. So for her, it was like I'm in a job after school. Tom Cruise, I hadn't heard anything about how he was affected by that, but Brad Pitt obviously didn't enjoy it. Now, if you watch the movie, or you have watched the movie and you enjoy it, you enjoy Brad Pitt as an actor, you can tell that it's not a role that he was comfortable being in. He mentioned how he felt that they amplified Lestat in such a way that he could be this big, forceful being, and Louis just stood there and couldn't do anything. Now, if you watch Brad Pitt in other roles, you can tell why that is. You know, you watch Fight Club, or if you watch 12 Monkeys, like, those are the roles he obviously succeeds in, and Louis was not for him. He felt lackluster in that role. And I can understand that as an actor. It's not near as fun. Something else that I noticed watching the movie is a very strong comparison to Twilight. Not obviously Interview with a Vampire comparing to Twilight, but Twilight comparing to Interview with a Vampire. This led me down another little bit of a rabbit hole. I was looking to see if Stephenie Meyer took inspiration from Anne Rice to write Twilight. And apparently she claims to have not. However, me being a big Twilight fan and reading that book in high school, it was hard to not point out the things that I noticed. And one of the big things was, and this is spoilers, by the way, for anyone that's never watched either one of these movies or read either one of these books. There is a comparison for the Volturi, which is towards the end of Interview with a Vampire, and there is a comparison to the little girl, obviously, Clara, right? Obviously, Clara is Renesmee, and there was also mention of mind reading. Briefly, they just kind of touched on it a little bit. And there was something else. When Lestat goes to feed Kirsten Dunst during her transition, that was another thing that I compared to Edward saving Bella. And it was just kind of funny to me to notice that. Anne Rice did take a moment to kind of criticize Stephenie Meyer when it came to her version of vampires, and I thought it was quite humorous. She went on to say that she found it very odd that immortals would choose to go to high school over and over and over again. Which is valid. I think if I had immortality, I would maybe do it once, just to experience high school again. But outside of that, no. I would be traveling the world, which is what she said. She was like, why would they choose to go to high school when they could be in Paris or some other country enjoying themselves? And that's just funny to me. I sometimes speak a little quickly, and then it doesn't benefit me because I'm over here doing my makeup with nothing else to say. A little bit of other information about the movie. The movie was actually filmed in several locations, not just in the United States. It was filmed in San Francisco, which is the opening scene where Christian Slater interviews Brad Pitt. And then it was also filmed in New Orleans, where Brad Pitt grew up. His character, Louis. Louis was a plantation owner who lost his wife and child and felt no more will to live, where he became reckless and where he meets Lestat. They eventually go to Paris, where it was filmed again there. Sections of the movie were filmed in Paris. And I think that was a big thing for Kirsten Dunst. She talked about how movies do not work that way anymore. Kirsten Dunst also stated that everything was practical effects. They actually built buildings to burn them down. And another fun fact that I did not know, another spoiler, Claudia. It's Claudia, not Clara. It's Claudia. Claudia attempts to kill Lestat. And in that scene, going back to me saying that it was all practical effects, when she goes to slit Tom Cruise's throat, that is actually not Tom Cruise. That is an animatronic built specifically to look like him. A lot of people mentioned how well his acting was in that scene, but he actually wasn't even in that scene. I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm going to do my brows real quick. Going back to Anne Rice's perception of the movie, she did mention that she really enjoyed it, but there was a couple things that, as a watcher of movies, she wanted to address. Now, one of the scenes, Claudia keeps a decaying body in her room. And Anne was like, they are vampires. Why did they not smell this body? They should have known right away that there was something there. She also questioned why they cried blood. She also wondered how Lestat was hindered by Claudia when she fed him the dead blood and slit his throat. She was like, he's a very strong vampire. How did this little girl manage to bring him down? She was also wondering how Lestat survived everything. And that was a big thing for me. If we're all under the understanding that vampires can't die, but there is certain things that you would think justify death in their case. And that would be fire for me. I would think fire would do it, you know? And not only did she slit his throat, fed him dead blood, they caught him on fire, they sank him into the swamp, they killed him twice, and yet he is still alive. Now, one thing that I didn't understand is the Volturi. Now, this is a section of the movie where Brad Pitt meets Antonio Banderas. And Antonio Banderas answers more questions than Lestat ever did for him, and he soon decides that he wants to join him. Well, Claudia needs someone to watch out for her or take care of her, and so she finds a person willing, and during that process, they're locked away and fed to the sun, essentially. And I don't know that I quite grasped why that happened. I think it was a way for Antonio Banderas to separate Claudia and Louis selfishly so that Louis would join them. Let me know in the comments if I'm correct with that. I was kind of cleaning as well as watching the movie, so I was going back and forth and I might have missed some details. The one thing that I was trying to find was if Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt got along any, because that was the whole spark to this conversation, the whole spark to this deep dive. And I hadn't been able to find that either. So if you have any references, leave some down below because I'd like to know. Brad Pitt mentioned, as I said earlier, that it took him about 2.5 hours to get ready for each film. So that is a lot. It takes me half an hour, 45 minutes to get ready just putting on makeup, right? Now, he said that Tom had gotten his down to about an hour. And the reason why he took so long getting ready is because he liked to get up and have breaks. He liked to go smoke a cigarette or have coffee. Something else that also I found questionable, which Anne Rice actually had the same question too, was how was it that Lestat was so affected by dead blood? She said, I don't get it, which I didn't get it either, but I also took note in the fact that earlier in the movie, he had taught Claudia to stop before the heart stops beating. And I thought maybe that was a reference. So is the dead blood pumped through the heart and is poisonous at some point? If this is something else that maybe you might know, we're all mortals here. Unless we have vampires in chat, let me know. Anne Rice was sent the VHS tape of the movie, and that is how she saw it. She saw it the way that every other person in the world saw it. And I think that's really cool that though she had her reservations, she saw what Tom did with her character, and it was completely turned around at that point. Anne Rice also had the perception of Hollywood's homophobia and actually considered changing Lestat's character to a female for the movie. And honestly, the entire movie is hot. It's a hot movie. And the chemistry that those men had, regardless of anything, showed so loudly on screen. And I'm really glad that they chose to keep the characters as they were. Another thing to note that another actor was meant to play Christian Slater's role. That actor was River Phoenix, and unfortunately he died several weeks prior to the production of Interview with the Vampire. It was actually really sweet. Christian Slater actually donated all of his earnings for the role to Phoenix's favorite charities. So that's kind of nice to hear. I like that. Another thing that Anne Rice criticized the movie for was its rated R rating. She said that she didn't believe that the movie should have been rated that high. She said she would have taken a child to see that movie, which is kind of funny to me that she said that, because Kirsten Dunst also said that she has never she's never watched the movie in entirety. She actually said when doing the premiere, her mom covered her eyes through half the movie, which is kind of funny to me too, being that Kirsten was obviously on set during this entire movie. I'm sure there was parts of it that she never saw, so I could understand that from her mom. I think I was inspired by the wardrobe of this movie. The Victorian style. It was so elegant and so pretty. Can we get more of that style? Can we talk about their hair in the movie, though? Oh my god. Brad Pitt's hair. So pretty. Alright, so as I finish up my eyes, I'll go ahead and close this out. Reading the essay that Anne Rice wrote, just kind of skimming through a majority of it as it is rather long. I will put my references down below so that you all can look at them. She obviously, just as any normal person watching a movie, had questions and doubts and things like that, but overall it seemed that she really enjoyed the casting of the movie and mostly the portrayal of her book. I think she tried her best to kind of separate herself from it so that she could actually see the movie for what it was worth. They actually prepared 5 to 6 months prior to shooting, and it showed. And said that each leading role really embodied the characters that she wrote about, and I kind of like that. I like that she went the objective route when watching the movie that brought light to her book. So I'm gonna finish up, put my lashes on, put my lipstick on, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back with the final look. If you enjoyed this, please make sure that you comment, like, or subscribe. I would like to touch base on Queen of the Damned as well. It is another Anne Rice book, part of the Chronicles, and also it was made into a movie, and I really enjoyed that movie. And I think it has a lot of subject matter. So, thank you. Thank you for joining me for yet another Get Ready with me. I am really enjoying these, and I hope you stick it out with me. Okay, bye!